Are you being an Andrew? Today I want to talk about making some changes in our lives so we can all be more like Andrew. What do I mean by that? Well, Andrew, I like to call him the disciple of evangelism. He was always constantly bringing others to Christ. Seems pretty important to me. Let's go to John chapter 1. The first time we see Andrew in action is here in John chapter 1, and let's start in verse 40. It says, "One of the two who heard John speak and followed Jesus was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, 'We have found the Messiah,' which means Christ. He brought him to Jesus. Jesus looked at him and said, 'So, you are Simon, the son of John. You shall be called Cephas,' which means Peter." So you see here, Andrew, upon hearing that the Christ is here, I'm going to go tell my brother, I got great news. Hey, Simon, we found the Messiah. We found the Christ. What better news to share with your family than Christ? He already knew the great news about Christ and said, hey, we need to go and tell everybody. So he was pretty excited, and I think sometimes we need to be more like Andrew and go and tell our friends and tell our family. Let's go to John 12. Sometimes I think we don't always share Christ with those who tend to be disliked. But here Andrew didn't care who it was. Let's look at verse 20 of John chapter 12. "Now among those who went up to worship at the feast were some Greeks. So these came to Philip, who was from Bethsaida in Galilee, and asked him, 'Sir, we wish to see Jesus.' Philip went and told Andrew. Andrew and Philip went and told Jesus. And Jesus answered them, 'The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified.'" So you see here that some of these Greeks, some people who were despised, went to Philip and said, we want to see Jesus too. We want to meet this Messiah, the Christ. We want a part of this. And then Philip went to Andrew, obviously, to say, hey, what are we going to do with these Greeks? And Andrew, obviously, because they immediately told Jesus, it probably was his idea, saying, hey, well, let's go take him to Jesus. Let's go take him to meet the Christ. Everybody needs to know about the Messiah. Everybody needs to share in this great news. So they took these Greeks, these people who were despised by most people, to go see Jesus. What better way for us to imitate somebody than to imitate somebody who's bringing people, even those who aren't liked by the community, to Christ? We should all be doing that. But sometimes it takes a large amount of faith for us to bring people to Christ. Sometimes we say, well, I'm not sure how much this will do. Remember the time where Jesus was preaching or teaching to the 5,000, and it got time for them to eat. And well, the people were hungry, but how are they going to feed thousands of people? Let's go to John chapter 6, starting in verse 8. It said, "One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said to him, 'There's this boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But what are they for so many?' Jesus said, 'Have the people sit down.' Now there was much grass in the place, so the men sat down, about 5,000 in number. Jesus then took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed to them who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted." So you see, Andrew said, I'm not sure if this will do any good, but there's this boy here who has a little bit of food. It's better than nothing. Sometimes I think we say, well, just bringing someone to Christ, it's not a big deal. Well, it's a huge deal. And Andrew, said, well, I'm going to at least do something. I'm at least going to bring him and see, because Jesus can do anything with anybody. Everybody has some talent, some way to influence the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. And I think we need to be more like Andrew. Be willing to bring anybody to Christ, whether it's a little child, whether it's going to our family members. That can be real hard, real delicate. But sometimes, bringing people who are despised by the community, because after all, we all deserve Christ. No one's better than anybody. We're not better than them. But we need to bring everyone to Christ, just like Andrew was. And that's part of evangelism. That's part of being a Christian, being a servant of God, is going to the whole world, to everybody, and sharing the great news about Christ. Sharing the great news about the Messiah has come, and he's going to come again, and you need to follow him. You need to be a servant for Christ. And remember, every day to strive to positively influence the population of heaven.